What up, everybody, and welcome back to the final regular season edition of Crack Kills Quick Hits. It's been 14 weeks, short weeks for some, maybe long for others, but it's been 14 weeks of great football. Let's close out the season by looking at the 5 things to watch for as we head into week 14. Quick hit number 1, pennant chase. 2 teams sit clear of the field with 9-4 records, UB and Shittown, but need wins today to clinch that final spot. As I said, both are sitting at 9-4 and are really looking for that 10th win. The Girlies and Fiends have different ideas, though. The Fiends only looking to play spoiler as they are locked into the shit bowl, but the Girlies have other ideas. They need a win to lock in their playoff spot, and a loss could put them in jeopardy depending on the other results. It's a big game there between Girlies and Shittown, which we'll talk about throughout the next 5 quick hits. We'll all be watching these 2 games to see who is crowned the 2018 Crack Kills regular season champion. Of course, there are 4 other teams with eyes on that pennant as well. Quick hit number 2, win and in. 4 teams sit at 8-5 and know that all they need today is a win to clinch that postseason spot. We already mentioned the Girlies, but the biggest matchup of 8-5 teams today is definitely in Fort Collins as the Dime Bags take on No Comment. The Bags won the first meeting by 11 points, and NC is hoping to get revenge. After a shit bowl performance last year, No Comment looks to return to the playoffs and become the final legacy franchise to make a final. NC has been playing in this league since 2006. They have never played for a championship. All eyes on Fort Collins today as the Bags take on No Comment. Quick hit number 3. Still a chance? The Kings kept their hopes alive thanks to a 90-yard touchdown run from Adrian Peterson last week, which, if you saw it, you know that Adrian Peterson is probably the model for the fatigued run on Madden. AB, knocked up the Girlies last week as well to keep their hopes alive. AB's win over the Girlies could end up being bigger, as the Tinfoil Kings had a couple of big wins over potential playoff teams earlier in the season. But both teams know that if they can get a victory today, they have a chance to get back to the postseason, depending on if they get help. Neither team has been a scoring machine, especially All Business, who sits at second to last in scoring. So a playoff position for either of those teams would be a great end of the season, especially for AB. Quick hit number 4. Peaking at the right time. Shittown has quietly won 7 straight games, thanks mostly to Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey averages 26 points per game in his last 5, including 2 games over 30, and has only been held under 20 once in the last 5 matchups. There were a lot of questions about the size and durability of McCaffrey coming into the season, but those questions have been answered. Shittown will hope and ride CMAC today and into the postseason to try to win a Crack Kills championship. Quick hit number 5, Shit Bowl. Last season's Shit Bowl winner No Comment still has a chance to return to the opposite of the Promised Land. But if No Comment can get a win today, we'll have a new number 1 pick in 19. No Comment took Zeke to kick off the draft last year. And of the 4 teams in the shit bowl already, there's a lot of intrigue to already be watched. The highly trained apes may not be loaded in front of the draft, but they have a lot of late picks. So if they get the number 1 pick, they're going to be looking for a bell cow to carry their team. The Fiends will actually have picks this year, even though they did have the best draft. And they look to assemble a team more to their liking after taking over for the Cops last year. The Fugitives could potentially draft Todd Gurley, making him eligible to be kept for 2 more years and keeping him on the team for a good amount of time. They could have Gurley for 5 straight seasons if they want to, if they can get that number 1 pick. And finally, the Mean Genes. The Genes kept Alvin Kamara this year, who would of course be a number 1 pick next year. But if the Genes got that first overall pick, they could draft Kamara and keep a different player on their roster. The Genes roster isn't that great, but they do have another guy that some people might be very interested in finding. The Shit Bowl always has intrigue, and we'll see if teams go into there with aggression or if we have teams limping to the finish. Finally, the player to watch this week. It's Amari Cooper, the fat bottom girlies. It didn't seem like that big of a deal when Cooper came over. But now, as he came over from Shittown, the girlies facing Shittown in the final week, Cooper could have a hand in denying his former team a pennant. His best game, though, for the girlies is 32 points while he was on their bench. Cooper came over in Week 5 and has scored 3 games in double figures since then. Also had a 1 and a 0-point game. But the girlies will need him to show up today. Of course, Saquon Barkley was also involved in that equation, but Cooper is the sneaky receiver to watch as the girlies look to get a win, deny Shittown a pennant, and get into the playoffs after a second-place finish last season. That's it for Crack Kills Quick Hits for this week. Good luck to every team, except the Dime Bags.